that square is for when you're filming, then you can have the protection, 4:3 protection.
So we are live now.
We're live. It looks like we're live.
4/3. I actually
should we stream in 4:3?
That'd be pretty cool. I actually fired up
ratio.
an IBM ThinkPad, a T60, which I used for a long time. I love that thing. Built like a tank. Upgraded it many times. RAM. Changed the CPU in it because it was one of those Core to Core 2 laptops. It's just turned right on. The battery still takes the charge.
Nice.
And I was looking at it. It was like built in 2003 or something insane like that. It was just like, no, it can't be 2003. It must, no way. It would have been like 2010, 2008. I don't know, but it worked. It still says IBM on it too. It just works.
It just works. IBM it's the original that just works, right?
It's amazing to think you could take a laptop from, a Core Duo vintage laptop, which, it would have been like 2006, 2007. And just...
Still doing all right.
Plug it in, battery takes a charge, and it runs. The hard drive was slow as hell. I was thinking about switching out to an SSD just for kicks. Hey, are we actually streaming now?
We sure are.
Hey, everybody. We are here. We're going to talk about RTX. RTX. Is ray tracing winning? Intel's new CPUs, and then some AMD CPU Navi rumors.
I don't know anything about that. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, just, I guess I'll look it up. I want to make sure I quote it correctly. Who do you credit, though? Who's the one who first reported the rumor?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know anything about it, so.
Really? Maybe it's just me.
I wasn't on the internet much this long weekend.
Okay.
Hell yeah, you're doing it right.
I did a search, and I get a choice between the Inquirer, Notebook Check, and WCCF Tech. 2 days.
Friends over at WCCF Tech.
8 hours ago for Inquirer. Well, WCCF Tech says they were 2 days ago. Of course, who knows what that means?
Yeah, I can change the timestamp, right?
Okay, here's hot hardware.
Just pick one.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like we got everybody here. Our friends Rusty, Vignesh, got Whiskey Omega, got Patrick.
Sorry for the delay, y'all. Last second, things happened.
Yeah, and sorry for last week. I got sick.
Adam got sick.
I'm still not feeling well, and then now Elena, it's her turn to be sick. So
it's these mics. You're supposed to clean these mics off with alcohol. They don't clean them off. It's unprofessional.
Was that the last episode that we were talking about that? I think that was the last episode.
Because you get up on these mics. In fact, on this mic, there's still food on it.
See, I dumped whiskey on it, and then it was fine, right? You get some alcohol on there, and you're good.
That's why we don't use a pop filter, folks. That's why. Because if we did, then you would not get the food smears on it.
Yep. All right. Are you ready?
We didn't do it last week because it turns out Adam's the glue that holds us together.
Well, nobody else can push the record button.
No, Dan can do it.
There's like one record button. Could you imagine pushing it by accident and just streaming the whole time? And here picking your nose. That would be that. Okay. Are we ready?
Yep, we're ready. Whenever you're ready. Go for it.
In this episode of the which one? This one?
Yeah.
That one. Two-thirds camera one?
Yeah. Let's do that one.
Wait. Which one is it?
The one with the monitor.
But no, it's not. Isn't it this one?
No.
Is it this one?
Yep.
How come we didn't have lights? Steve over Gamers Nexus, he has lights.
I bet he does.
I'm sure he does. Probably soldered them up himself.
Yeah. I'm not good at soldering.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, I can't remember. Here we go. See. It's Monday. Technically Monday, even though it's a Tuesday. President's Day. Happy President's Day. Okay. In this episode of Full Nerd, is RTX winning? Intel's finger licking good. I forgot. It's who's got the 2 all beef patties. That's somebody else. All right, here we go.
Special sauce and cheese. What is that?
That's what most Americans know. They don't know who their congressional representative is, but they do know the ingredients of the Big Mac, which I agree with.
Is that McDonald's?
The ingredients of the Big Mac is more reliable than your congressional representative. Okay, there we go. That's all the politics we're talking about. There we go. In this episode of The Full Nerd, is RTX winning? Intel's finger-licking good 9th gen CPUs and AMD Navi and Ryzen 3 coming out X.
Did
you not?
What? Why is it? It's not.
We'll just fake it. We'll just.
No, it's fine. Wait, let me play it.
Oh, see?
See, there we go.
Yeah, let's just leave that in.
Yeah, we'll just leave it.
It's not going to work again.
Forget about it.
Welcome to the Full Nerd, episode 85. I'm your host, Gordon Mong, with co-host Brad Charkis.
Hello.
And controlling the vertical and horizontal is Adam.
I just realized somebody had turned off autoplay, so I switched to it, but it didn't automatically play. That's like a function in there. I didn't do it. It was the computer, man.
Oh, you mean like
yeah.
YouTube or Netflix auto? You have to turn that off.
No, not the autoplay. The in live stream when I switched to the video, it should autoplay it, but it didn't. So because somebody turned the checkbox off. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Yeah, sure. Han Solo excuse there.
Dang it.
For people who realize Han Solo who he is.
But we're here. We're here despite the illnesses.
Everybody's sick.
Sorry about last week.
Last week.
I was sick. I mean, I'm still sick. Elena's not here. I have it on good authority. She's also sick. So, yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Good authority, you mean she said she was sick.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but I don't know if that was her or if somebody hacked into her Slack account. You know, I haven't seen her, so...
Wait, you mean she's been kidnapped or something like that?
Who knows?
By her cat?
I don't know.
I mean, she's got that crazy cat.
Yeah.
It could be that.
She sure does.
The cat is, could have taken her hostage or something.
And the cat's out of the bag because RTX is good, right?
It is. RTX is winning.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Is it?
The news.
Is it?
Is ray tracing finally winning?
Ray tracing is winning. DLSS had a rough week.
Why do you say that?
So last week was a big week for NVIDIA's RTX technology. Battlefield 5 added DLSS, deep learning super sampling. Metro Exodus came out, got 4.5 out of 5 stars from us. It's a great game.
Wow.
It launched with NVIDIA Ansel, DLSS, and ray tracing. And playing that game with ray tracing on is mind-blowing. It completely changes the feel of the game. It's not just a gimmick. Like, it adds 100% to the dark, sneaker, stalker-esque vibes that game has.
Really? I have not looked at any of the
difference.
videos, so I really should try it. But because, I mean...
Is that significant? It's a significant difference in gameplay feel. We actually did a video that you could find on our YouTube channel. Me, Adam, and Hayden were playing and talking over it. And I've been playing it myself over the weekend a little bit, and it makes such a huge difference to ray tracing. It's amazing.
So I will like to say that somebody in the chat, Logirex, says it's obviously winning because there's 2 RTX games in 6 months.
That's fair.
Yeah,
right. That's, there was other ray tracing news though, right? Although it's not clear to me what's going on, but it sounds like Jensen has basically confirmed that Unreal will implement ray tracing in the next version, next engine, right? And
I think they said something like that. Yeah,
he said something like that. I don't think actually Epic has actually confirmed that, but it's clear that they're from their dismal earnings call last week. It was at least that was some good news. And then the other thing is that I guess they say they're working with all developers, every developer on implementing ray tracing.
Every developer.
All of them, even the ones who make the little pixel art games.
Although I guess it really is every developer they are working with. They are working on getting ray tracing into their games, right?
Yeah. And this Metro Exodus is actually the first game to use global illumination, which is basically it realistically models the sun and the moon, basically. Which this is it's split into levels, but it's mostly a big open world-ish kind of game. That it's very Stalker-esque if you played Stalker back in the day. And it makes such a huge difference. Like, the game is so much harder, so much more tense, so much... Like, it's darker where it makes sense, and it's brighter where it makes sense, and it makes a huge difference. It also makes a huge performance impact.
Yeah.
But much less so than we saw originally with Battlefield 5. Which their version of ray tracing was basically only doing reflections. So you had the fancy reflections in windows and puddles, whereas, Metro's global illumination So Metro also launched with DLSS, Deep Learning Super Sampling. Battlefield 5 also launched that last week. They issued an update. And it does improve performance in those games, but without having hard benchmarks in front of me, because we had a long weekend and I didn't spend it all weekend benchmarking things. I just played Metro and had fun. Some people have issue with the way DLSS is implemented in Battlefield 5 and Metro both, because the picture is noticeably blurrier than it is standardly.
Yeah.
Is standardly a word? I don't think
normally.
I meant.
So it is blurrier with DLS on, and the whole idea was it was supposed to improve it, though, right? It sort of give you almost the same sharpness.
The idea is to be roughly the same video visual quality as TAA, but with less of a performance impact. It definitely lessens the performance impact. Like, you get many more frames per second when you have DLSS on. But it's not, I wouldn't go so far to say as like it looks like Vaseline is smeared on the screen, but textures are noticeably softer. I mean, like the games just feel softer.
And I mean, it looks like you're downsampling when you should actually be upsampling. Like you're taking a 1440, trying to make it a 4K, but it still looks 1440.
That doesn't sound like a win to me.
And on top of that, it turns out there's a lot of resolution limitations and workload limitations that DLSS apparently has that was not made clear when it was announced. When it was announced, NVIDIA made it sound like, look, we're using these tensor cores in our RTX GPUs. It's going to make all these games run great with no big loss in visual impact. Is this the first two? No, Final Fantasy 15 also had it. But yeah, these are two big high-profile games that have it, and there is a loss in visual fidelity. I think it's worthwhile when you're playing ray tracing, at least playing with ray tracing, at least in Metro. It's worth it to turn on DLSS to get some of that frame rate back, to have those awesome global illumination ray tracing going on, because it does make that much of a difference. But yeah,
slightly
so there
softer.
are it's softer, and there's resolution limitations. So you can play it at 4K if you have RTX enabled in some situations. You can play it at 1440p, these games, in certain situations as well. Like, because apparently the way DLSS works is that your GPU needs to be under significant load for it to make a big difference. So if you're not pushing your GPU mega hard, then NVIDIA says, there's no point using it. So they're only allowing DLSS in ultra strenuous situations, such as running at 4K or 1440p with RTX on. If you have RTX off, you can't run DLSS. 1080p is the same deal. They don't have ultra wide support in Battlefield 5, at least, right off the bat. Like, there's a whole big, I think it was Tech Power Up made a chart of when DLSS can be supported by your monitor setup and graphic settings in a game, and when it's not. So it's not like you can just turn it on and it'll work no matter what you're doing. It's restricted to certain resolutions and graphic settings. So, and NVIDIA put out a post recently, I'm not sure when it is, I have it up right here right now, where one of their senior people put out a post answering questions about this, and they say they're working on it. It's a 40% improvement. We're working on it. We're starting to add, because the whole thing with DLSS is it runs through NVIDIA's supercomputers, and then what it gets from that is what it pushes out to the graphics cards. They say they're working on it with their supercomputers. But, the initial out-of-the-bat DLSS was not super impressive visually and in terms of widespread monitor support for both Battlefield 5 and Metro Exodus.
That seems like a kind of a bummer. Is it just simply this is early technology and it's going to improve as we get along and we process all this, or is this simply a technical limitation, I guess? Or marketing,
it sounds like it's
guess.
kind of a mix, because they say they're working on their system, they're training it to do better at these different things that aren't supported yet, and they say they have an update coming that improves DLSS sharpness and overall image quality for Metro Exodus that didn't make it into day of launch. If you remember back, when ray tracing launched in Battlefield 5, the performance was noticeable, significant impact. And an update that came out later, mitigated that to a large degree. So DLSS is an NVIDIA black box technology, basically, and they are working on it, and it can get better. And I have no doubt that it will get better in these games, because they've been working real hard at when these things come out to, improve what we got. But yeah, maybe think about not using DLSS in those right now.
Well, and here's a good question that maybe it was mentioned in one of his long talks, but I didn't fully understand it. But how come you can't use DLSS without RTX? Like how can't you say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to run ray tracing. I just want a better FPS in the normal, in my normal settings.
Yeah, and that's my question too.
I'm not 100% sure. They haven't been terribly transparent in exactly how DLSS works behind the scenes.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's tied into RTX or DXR, DirectX Ray Tracing API. They're saying right now that it's tied to GPU workload, and you need RTX on and these high resolutions to, put enough stress on the GPU to make it worthwhile, because otherwise your computer just render it fast enough. That being said, as far as the image quality goes, it makes sense that something like 1080p, the image quality is significantly more soft with these games, and that makes sense. As they say, NVIDIA in its posts, for 4K DLSS, they have 3.5 to 5.5 million pixels to work with, because what DLSS does is it uses its AI to, figure out what pixels are missing and automatically generate them, so your GPU is doing less work. Whereas at 1080p, it only has about 1 million pixels, so significantly less. So
yeah, so I mean, but it sounds like it's fair too, right? It's like, what the hell do you need DLSS for to run this game at 1080p? Because you don't really need it. You can just run it with it off and get your sharper textures too. So what's you really don't need it. But we're saying, but I'm just trying to figure out like this whole being tied to RTX, because NVIDIA they're always guilty before they're anything. It's like, are they trying to say like, we're not going to let you use this cool feature unless you do ray tracing? And that's the other thing. I'm sure people are gears are grinding somewhere to like, they're trying to tie these two things together to force it. But it also could be like what you're saying is like, what's the point, right? You don't need, if you're not running ray tracing, what the hell do you need to turn on DLSS for, right? It's just because you've got so much excessive frame rate, it doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah, it's not clear right now. It's not clear what the limitation there is. I don't know if it's a technical limitation. I don't know if it's simply when they train their supercomputer on these games, they have to train it around specific, like, they have to match all the quality, visual quality settings and options. I don't know. But it makes sense that they would pair DLSS with RTX, though, because RTX does hit frame rate so hard, and DLSS, grabs some of that back.
Yeah, but imagine if you could get that extra frame,
in CS:GO.
Normal, yeah. And Peter, friend of the show, Peter, saying, and I didn't look up the validity of this, but he says DSLS is upscaling with something similar to checkerboard rendering, executed by the AI work on the graphics while playing the game. So, which makes sense why you could have a little bit of a hit on fidelity because you're doing the scaling there.
Yeah, that's broadly correct. Yeah.
But yeah, and somebody else, sorry, it flew by, asked the question, does this mean that you always need to be connected to the internet to have that work?
No, it comes down to your drivers.
Got
it. And again, we're talking about the negatives of DLSS right now, but I think it's still a really cool new technology, and I don't want to take away from the ray tracing implementation in Metro. It's amazing. Like, it's like literally game changing to me.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll piggyback off that. I've
Adam. Go ahead. So you have not heard Adam's trash talking.
So I wouldn't call it trash talking, but I think it's more like, hey, and a lot of people in the chat feel the same way that either that it's underbaked or it's not, widespread utilized. We're paying for extra on the card when we're not getting enough, payback right now, all that kind of stuff. But I will say, with the Metro situation, this is the first time I was jealous that I didn't have an RTX card.
Really
playing
interesting,
yeah.
But so many people are saying they don't think this is real at all, and they wanted 100% on day one at launch.
I mean, it's still not ready. It's still 2 games in 6 months, so whatever. Like, I don't think that negates that. But for me, like Brad said, Hayden came in here. We fired up on our 2080 Ti, and Hayden hadn't seen the RTX version, so he was talking about how he was playing it at home, and then we were kind of comparing in the video. You should definitely watch the video. It's a good video, and even he kind of turned around by the end of the video.
Really?
He was just like, oh wow, this could significantly impact the way you play this game because of the lighting. It's so stealthy, it's so sneaky, it's a lot to do with light and shadows, and it could have a huge impact on you actually playing the game. The promise of Battlefield was, the reflections, and maybe you get a tactical advantage by seeing somebody in a reflection that you wouldn't have earlier. But but this fundamentally changes the way you're playing. And I'll say, even then I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. But honestly, it wasn't until I watched Eurogamer's Digital Foundry video about ray tracing on the PC. That is an amazing video. You should definitely go watch that. I love what they do, and they showed some side-by-side comparisons of like time of day stuff, different lighting sources, and I was just like, wow, this, like, I got jealous. I was just like, this looks like a completely different game under those circumstances. And I got to play some of it this weekend, and I just kept in the back of my mind, I was like, oh man, it could be looking different. It could be looking different.
And Hayden actually came into that stream right before we started. He's like, yeah, they just emailed me about this saying you don't really notice it in screenshots. It's more of a feel thing, so I don't really expect it to be that much of a deal because feel whatever. But then he played it, and by the end of it, he's like, wow, that makes a tremendous difference.
It's true. Hey, does this negate the fact that these are more expensive cards? Does this negate the fact that game support is still rolling out at a snail's pace? No, but at the same time, this is the first time where I was able to look at one and be like, oh, okay, that I'm a little jealous.
It's proof of the potential.
Yeah, proof of the potential, and maybe when prices come down and I can afford one on my own, then then I would pony up for one, and then more games are out.
Like, Battlefield 5 is a great game. It's probably not the best, showcase for ray tracing because it's fast-paced. It's a shooter. You're blowing stuff up and driving tanks down the road. Yeah. Metro is slower paced and sneaky.
Very
the whole
slow.
Thing's based on light. It just fits it perfectly.
Yep.
Although I do have a question there, because I want to know, and I really need to fire up Metro and turn on DLSS. Are people trying to get it both ways? Because it's like, are they saying that, because I mean, clearly people are going to say soft textures. When you say soft textures to me, that's like the thing that bugs me the most, probably.
That's the DSLS thing, though.
Yeah,
we're talking about the global illumination.
But I mean, for the DLSS thing, I'm kind of wondering, is it so bad? Because I understand in Battlefield, it's like you're not going to stop and look at this puddle and look around, right? So people are saying, well, it's worthless technology, but then are you really going to look at these softer textures with DLSS and do the full freak out? You can't say, I don't care about visual quality, I won't see anything. Oh, how come my textures are so, you gotta, is it being unfair? I mean, can you say these seems like they're at odds with each other?
I wish that the DLSS algorithm was better out of the gate, because they work in tandem, like we said. Global illumination ray tracing will tank your frame rate. DLSS, pardon me, theoretically will bring it back. And it's a bummer that the DLSS is so soft in Metro out of the gate, and Battlefield 5, but Metro especially, because, I mean, that game, it really is the showcase for ray tracing technology. And the way the DLSS works is all based on the AI. like I said, I have no doubt that as they have more time to feed that into the machine, it will get less blurry. It will get better looking. But out of the gate, it's not.
Well, and also, I mean, they're ray tracing. You know, there's more to do on the back end as well. I mean, I think DLSS is just one part of it, trying to say, hey, when you turn RTX on, DLSS is there to bring it back up. But I think also in the future, you know, as ray tracing is more integrated into it, hopefully it won't take as much of a hit. I mean, Battlefield, you saw them put a patch and it significantly, you know, increased the performance, and that was without DLSS. So, you know, like I think it's two separate things there.
I'm looking forward. If you look at the list of RTX games that are coming out, there are some that do ray tracing, and there are a lot that plan to support DLSS. I'm going to be very curious to see the benefit that DLSS brings in those games that don't have ray tracing.
Yeah, and especially because it sounds like, I guess it's just the game implementations, like those current games that 4K, you can run it at 4K, but you can't run it at 1080p. I'm just trying to think of, it's going to be, those will be the same things. Those games that have DLSS, only 4K, but not 1080p. Same issue, I guess.
We'll have to see how it all works out. This is all on NVIDIA and what they train. It's complicated. Like, each game is different. Tech Power Up, like I said, has a great, they've been digging into it. They have a couple of great charts made up that tell you when you can use it and when you can't. And it's a bit scattershot. So we'll have to see if that's standard going forward. Maybe the games launch with 4K and 1440 support to be able to back up ray tracing at the resolutions that RTX graphics cards will likely be playing at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they backfill it later.
Well, it's interesting because I did the same thing when I was reviewing the MSI GS75 with the 2080 Max Q. I was like, oh, let me fire up Final Fantasy, because they're like, hey, check this out. This benchmark has DLSS. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. It's a 1080p screen, 144.
Yeah.
It's like, I could hook this up to an external 4K monitor, but it's just not realistic. To me, it was just sort of like, what was the point of DLSS on a 1080p laptop then?
What made it more frustrating for me is that the game and pop-ups from the NVIDIA Shadowplay doesn't make it clear why DLSS doesn't work. Like, when we were doing the stream with Hayden, we couldn't figure out why DLSS wouldn't stick. It turns out because we were playing at 1080p 1440, but there's nothing in the game that says that. There's nothing that pops up that says, hey, this can't work. There's no tooltip that says you need to be RTX on in 1440.
Yeah,
it's just like, this isn't working. I don't know what's happening. This game launches tomorrow.
Yeah, you would click the box and then hit accept, and then you would go back in and the box is unclicked, and we were just like, huh, okay, we weren't quite sure what was going on there. So, it needed part of that's the developers. They easily could have done some sort of, not easily, but they could have included some sort of tooltip to say, hey, in order for this to stick, these are the parameters, but maybe they didn't even know, so yeah.
All right, well, let me ask you this, because I want to get back to the original supposition. I think might be the correct use. Could also be suppository. Is RTX winning? Here's my question, Brad and Adam and Elena, who's probably watching this at home. I originally went out when the RTX 2080 launched, bought a 2080, $700, right? And I said, you know what? Elena and Adam and Brad have convinced me. I don't know if you were on that train. You convinced me I should have bought a 1080 Ti. So I went and I waited. I took that 2080 back to the store, got a 1080 Ti. They charged me 10% restocking fee.
Well, that was just dumb.
Now I'm at the very end. I can still take that card back to the store. I'm, of course, making this all up.
Yeah.
Just to make fun of you. I can now take that 1080 Ti that everybody said I should buy instead of a 2080, and now it's a 20% restocking fee because I've already brought the card back once.
Well,
should I?
That doesn't make any sense.
No, I
know.
I'm just saying, everybody who was saying it was a mistake for people to buy the 2080, they should have bought a 1080 Ti for full MSRP after 2 years of being on the market. What should people do now?
I still think that was the right advice at the time, and that's what you should have done at the time.
Yeah.
But now, Pascal, the older GTX 10 series cards are pretty much getting out of stock, and you got to pay like $900 for a 1080 Ti. So don't bother.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the same price or more, then it doesn't make sense. But we were talking about, hey, 1080 Ti for a couple $100.
No, it was not. Oh, come on. It was
at least $100.
Yeah, at least $100.
I consider, even with Metro looking so amazing and really proving the potential of this technology, at this point, I still couldn't say buy this because of ray tracing yet.
You shouldn't buy anything for just one game.
Well, let me tell you this, because look, I got like 3 hours before I can bring this card back, or I'm stuck with it forever. Adam, Elena, and Brad.
Forever.
Do I take this card back now and exchange it for 2080, or I stick with my 1080 Ti?
If you have a GTX 1080 Ti, stick with it. There's no reason to upgrade.
Yep.
But I can do it for free. Okay.
No, you just said it was a 20% restocking fee, Gordon.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm saying is, if you're going to go out and buy a card now, clearly it's been it feels like it's been what, 4 months of just hand wringing and hand wringing I've never seen on a launch. If you were to do it today, I could buy a 1080 Ti for, I don't know what the hell they're even going for these days, or I could buy 2080. What would you buy at this point?
I mean,
or Radeon 7, I guess.
But like we just said, if it's the same price or more, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
What if it's the same price?
2080.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, look, my dog.
If it's the same price, you go for the 2080. That's what back in the day we were saying go for the 1080 Ti's, because they were $100 to $200 less than a 2080.
Slightly.
I still don't think, like, just because ray tracing exists in 2 games now and coming to more, and it's amazing, like I can't stress enough
amazing in one
how
game.
much of a difference it makes in Metro.
It really is.
Like, it doesn't negate like AMD's existence. Like, you know what I mean? It's not a must-have. Go get it.
Yeah, like even though like I felt, which is wow, I'm a little jealous. Like I could be jealous of somebody going and driving a Tesla around, but that doesn't mean I should go buy one. I'm gonna wait until it makes sense for me, and one game isn't enough for me to make sense.
Yeah.
I think whenever you're looking for a graphics card, you're looking for a graphics card that fits your needs in your budget. And I think at this point, 6 months after the RTX series launched, if you're looking for a card in that higher end mid, 1440, 4K kind of card, if you're looking to go buy a card, and you're probably going to buy NVIDIA unless you want the Radeon 7. And at this point, the RTX are what you're going to get. So it's kind of a moot point.
Okay. So here, I want to ask the advice then. Sorry, I love just turning screws to people. The actual practical advice to people is, okay, my pit bull. Well, actually, no.
that's not practical advice.
No, my pit bull has just chewed up my card, because on the side, I run a underground gang in East Oakland, and with the pit bull training, they ate some of the video cards. So, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Here's my question. What is your advice for me? I am running currently I'm running a 1080.
Okay.
Well, I guess 1080 Ti I'd probably. I have a 1080 Ti. I bought it 8 months ago. Perfectly happy with it. Should I go out and buy a 2080 today?
Not whatsoever. You might want to consider buying a 2080 Ti if you want to spend $1,200 on a graphics card.
No, but not unless I'm running
1080 Ti to a 2080 is no performance difference outside of these ray tracing and DLSS technologies, and I don't consider that worth the investment right now.
Oh, Brad,
that's a side grade.
I was incorrect. I didn't know what's in my machine. Turns out I have a 980. So I have a 980 Ti. Should I do a 2080?
If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking to start doing 4K gaming or ultra high refresh 1440p, definitely consider the RTX 2080.
Yeah, oh, no. Because a 980 Ti at 1080p is still not bad.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a good card.
It's loud, though. But actually, no, I was wrong. I don't even know. I just buy whatever there is.
He has a 460.
I have actually a 680. So I have a 680
in SLI.
I tell you, if you've got a 680, go out there and get yourself like
anything.
GTX 1050, and it will blow you away. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I just kind of wonder. I sort of think the people who buy a high end, if you have an 8 series card, you sort of like high end. Of course, these days it's sort of like been turned into a 7 Series card. But I'm wondering if it makes sense if you are looking for a replacement for 680 is getting pretty long in the tooth, right? That's pretty long in the tooth. Is it worth it? No, I guess I'm trying to make you pick between buying a GTX or an RTX or a Radeon card. Where would you go? I mean, that's what I'm just thinking because I swear to God, hearing you both say like, "Oh my God, it was such a game changer to have this RTX mode on in Metro," it makes me think, well, hell, I don't want to invest in a card today that I'm going to have that feeling.
Well, but here's the
6 months.
thing. Here's the thing. It's still budgets, because if you can't afford that card now, and maybe you can't afford that in the future, whatever. You know, it's like, hey, you know, if I need to get a Radeon, if I need to get a 580, 590, you can get 3 free games or something, you know, like, you're still getting a damn good bang for your buck there.
No, it's, you know? You're right.
Like,
I mean,
and so even if you can't afford it, you know, but and that's a lot of people are saying in chat, it's the price thing, you know. They still feel that it's jumped too high, too far, too fast, you know. And
that was the real stickler. Like, I think we discussed this on the last episode many times in the past with the RTX launch, is that they didn't offer much traditional gaming performance boost for the same price as these 2-year-old cards. At this point, those 2-year-old cards are phased out. If you want to try to get a 1080 Ti, it's going to cost you more than you should ever pay for it. So your only realistic option is to buy an RTX card, and there's no reason not to, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Brett puts it right here. You know, the fact that the debate is for cards over $500. If you can afford a card over $500, then yeah, you know, whatever.
But I guess the thing is, I think back in August when these came out and everybody just screamed bloody hell, the difference of $150 between the 1080 Ti and the 2080 for potentially more. And it sounds like we're actually starting to see some of that potential, you know, come to fruition now.
Still in 2 games. Still the DLSS implementation makes everybody kind of go, you know, that doesn't work with my monitor, and if it does, it's a little bit blurry. So it's not perfect, the DLSS implementation. So, I mean, yes, Metro's ray tracing is mind-blowing, but realistically speaking, it's still 2 games, and the DLSS is kind of So I don't consider the promise of ray tracing to be worth the $150 premium that we were arguing for back in the day. I still firmly stand by you should get a GTX 1080 Ti back in those days.
Brad is staying the course. Stay the course.
I will die on this hill.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get someone to say this is wrong. This is wrong. No, I was wrong.
That doesn't happen.
Because I say it all the time. But
well, a lot of people in chat are saying that NVIDIA is wrong.
About what? Oh well, what's the chat saying? What are they disagreeing?
Everyone says it's you know, it's BS. NVIDIA's still screwing us over.
No doubt.
I tell you, I am bummed by the fact that pricing bumped up this generation, and there was no price to performance increase very much. But like I've said again before, you need to launch dedicated hardware and new technology like this. You need to have a time to do it. Like, it doesn't just magically happen. Like, you need to put the hardware out there, and then developers will make stuff for it and whatnot. And NVIDIA was so far ahead of AMD that this is the right time for them to do this. And even though it sucks that prices are higher right now, my hope is next generation, you know, they'll have the kinks worked out, and we'll start to see somewhat more sane, you know, pricing. Maybe next time around, the 3080 will be faster than the 2080 Ti or whatever.
Yeah, so everyone just chimed in because the chat caught up and just said prices bumped up hundreds of dollars. Yeah, bumped up way disproportionately to the performance.
Well, not really, because in ray tracing performance you got like about 10 million %. I forgot. No, but I want to go back to what you said, Brad, at the original launch, and I want to make people remember this because Brad was, I think, he had the best advice. No, people don't. Adam is, he thinks I'm going to throw some shade.
I thought you were going to. No, but look, I thought you were going to say something.
When the RTX was first announced and everything, and Brad was saying, you know, looking at the performance, it may not be enough. We're basically going to sort of, you're going to get these cards that are going to be like, performance is going to be a little spotty. wait for the 7-nanometer version of this. Probably you'll get the best implementation of it, right? The second gen. You never want to be the first generation. Anytime there's a new car design, you never want to be the new car design. You want to get the second or third year.
I mean, that's same for a lot of things, yeah.
That's kind of what I was. That's kind of what I was dancing around earlier when I said, hopefully next time around, like this is the first iteration. We're getting this out of the way now while they have the lead.
Right.
Hopefully the next one.
But I think
is a lot more enticing.
You should get credit, and I do think because it was like, yeah, you know, not saying it's a bad thing, but wait for the next generation if you can. Mm-hmm. My argument, of course, back then was, you know what, I'm not gonna spend more than $500 for old technology when I know new technology's here. So we're both right.
All right, well, we have been on this topic for a while, and we've got other stuff to talk about, including...
It's a good topic.
It's a good topic. It's a good topic. Well, you know, yeah, maybe we just go shorter on those. I do want to get to some viewer Q&A, though. I don't want to skip over that because we've got some awesome questions in our Discord channel, which I will pimp right here. If you need to get into the Full Nerds Discord channel, I'm putting a... Do
you want to ask questions or
link in the chat right now? No, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to gloss over the Q&A section at the end,
okay?
Because we're going long. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one. And if you have questions on the Discord, you should go in there. Or if you want to see deals, people putting deals in there, chatting with us about games and all that fun stuff, come join us over there. So, anyway, that was my pimp for Discord.
Oh, I thought we were answering questions from there.
Nope. So let's talk about KFC. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime here.
Yeah, I mean, actually, just a lot of 9th gen stuff here with Intel. First one is Core i9, and I got to say, Intel really missed a chance to make one awesome ass name here. It's the Core i9 9990, should have been 9999 XE performance. Puget, it's a system maker up in Washington, Puget Sounds, or in that area, Puget Systems, and they do awesome sort of workstation, you know, HPC tests on machines, and they actually ran some benchmarks on the Core i9 9990XE, and
which you might have never heard of because it hasn't, you know, Intel never formally put out a press release for these parts. They're not parts you can buy. They are like high-end, auction-only. Only system integrators can buy them chips.
Yeah, and actually that is the insane part, because I thought originally when this was reported about 3 months ago that there would be an auction-only part, I thought it was like auction to end users. It's even worse than that. Ooh. It's like we can't even enter the auction for this. The actual system builders have to enter an auction to buy these things for, I think, $2,200 or something like that. Just specs is basically a 14-core part, very high clock, 5 gigahertz. It's basically single thread performance is competitive with the 9900K, and multi-core, it's actually as fast as an 8. Even though it has 14 cores, it's as fast as the 18-core 9980.
Because of that crazy single thread performance.
Right? Yeah, so it all evens out because of the high clocks that they're pushing. So it's actually a pretty nice part, but the fact that you can't just even buy these from system builders. It sounds like
I mean, people had a hard enough time getting a 9900K, right? So yeah, but that's got to be even worse.
Yeah, but the whole 900K is just early production. I'm sure it's easier to find today than it was at launch.
Okay.
But this is like it's auction only. $2,300. Sorry, I was undervaluing it apparently. So this makes that Xeon part seem like easy to get, basically.
Well, $2,300 this time because it's auction only. It's I guess it's once a quarter. System integrators can try to auction and get whatever's available.
Wow, dang.
It's a unique. And I don't understand what the rationale for it is, you know?
Yeah, well, I was just about to ask that. Why? I mean, why? Why not?
Well, like going through Puget's tests, they've run several different ones of them, like on Lightroom and Photoshop and et cetera. Matt Bach is the guy who did the tests. This thing actually smokes at Photoshop, he says. Like, if you're a Photoshop professional, man, this thing smokes.
That's a lot just for Photoshop. Whew.
I'd pay for that.
But he says it's rivaled by the 9900K's, you know, high clock speeds. But if you're going to use Photoshop and other things that need a lot of core work, I mean, this is the platform, the motherboard platform, supports a lot more than the basic consumer platform does.
Yeah.
So this is ultra high clocks, 14 cores, 28 threads in that more extensive platform. So this is like the Rolls Royce of chips, basically.
I'm a little confused by the whole, but the fact that you can't actually get the thing, and then even it sounds like these are just super bin parts, right? These are just super bin parts, and I'm just surprised that they're even going this route to offer them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really doesn't. I mean, it doesn't say good things about the availability of some Intel hardware. I mean, the Xeons were sort of hard enough to get, and then these things are like, what? I mean, you couldn't get it if you wanted to, but there is a certain crowd that makes it more valuable to them. But
Peter's asking, why do you think Intel went auction only on this?
Well, again,
there's like 50 of them.
Yeah, there's like they can they're bidding these things out, and they can only get so many of them that are hitting the clock speeds. And you know what's even crazier? I'm reading Paul Alcorn's summary of this over at Tom's Hardware. There's no warranty.
What?
Yeah, there's no warranty.
Dang.
So
I mean, I'm sure because you can only get them through system integrators. I'm sure the system integrator it'd be supported by the system integrator warranty.
Yes, and that's why, in fact,
I mean, what are they going to do? Because they can't replace it, right?
No, they have to replace it.
Yeah.
Well, they have to replace it with something.
Yeah.
But the issue, there's high risk for the system vendors because it's like, oh, we just smoked a $2,300 CPU. Intel won't warranty it like everything else that they warranty, so we just have to now eat the cost of this thing.
And give you something that you didn't originally want.
Yeah, and then the customer will be unhappy. And, the kind of people, I don't think people realize this, the kind of people who buy $10,000 gaming rigs, they don't like being told no, right? They get angry if it's like, right, if they can't get what they got originally. So they get really angry at you. So I don't think that... It doesn't really, a lot of this just doesn't make any sense. So
true, that makes sense.
But it sounds like a pretty cool part. It's a badass part. Do you remember the very last, the 5 gigahertz AMD part? Remember that thing? It's
9590, I think it was the one that came with the water cooler.
Yeah, it came with its own water cooler, and then the motherboard that they later was not actually equipped to handle it, and just.
Sorry if you already covered this. Why is it KFC?
Oh, and there's another one. Well, because there's 2 other 9th gen parts. The other one is apparently Intel accidentally slipped that there's some new 9th gen laptop parts. Looks like core count's similar to what you're already seeing in the 8th, the 8750H and the Core i9, but just higher clocks. So higher bin versions. So probably run similar power, and then it looks like just higher clocks. So not a big deal there, but the KFC versions are apparently showing up now. These are the Coffee Lake parts with the integrated graphics fused off, and they're KFC.
This particular part was mentioned in an AIDA 64 changelog, so that's where this information comes from.
Yeah,
it's particularly the 9900 KFC, which is kind of weird because the K means it's unlocked. F is a relatively new invention. That means there's no integrated graphics. But in the past, C was used in those weird Broadwell desktop parts that had crazy integrated graphics. So the F and the C put together there kind of confuses me.
Although it's pretty cool if it actually came in a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket, though, right? I don't know.
That's collector's edition.
That would be just awesome. Because what they should do, Intel should make basically a bucket, like a miniature bucket. And it should be, and I guess they could pay KFC for the licensing, but it would say, KFC or something, but it'd be Intel inside or something. And then you get the special packaging. That'd be pretty cool. And they're just, I'm guessing they're pretty high clock parts because the integrated graphics are off.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see because if the C is actually supposed to be there, because like I said, this is from AIDA 64, it could just be a mistake. But yeah, the other F-Series parts, they just had no integrated graphics, and they weren't cheaper, and they weren't higher clocked. They were just the same thing without integrated graphics. So I'm not sure what to expect out of this chip.
I guess they could put the L3 on there, like the C parts, and then right. But that seems crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's a real weird. I'm curious to see if that's actually a thing and not just a typo. I'm kind of in my head. I'm like 50-50. I'm like, this could very much just be a typo. Like the F is right next to the C. Someone has fat fingers on the keyboard. It has a C now.
Oops.
I would not be surprised by that.
Oh, you mean it was like, oh man, it's like 12:30. I'm hungry. Let's go. Hey, update that database and let's go. Where do you want to go? Let's go to KFC.
I wouldn't be surprised. This whole thing just seems weird to me.
Oh man, I just would love it if they did the Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket with the CPU in it. Doesn't have to have the cooler,
Yeah,
but
why not?
You know, it would have the KFC bucket, and it just and then
Hey, you know AMD would do something like that.
and then
Throw
you
some thermal
AMD
paste
would.
in there so it's greasy.
Well, you would get the thermal paste, but it would come in that moist towelette, kind of like packaging, kind of like then you could spread it out on the CPU. I should work at Intel Packaging, just doing the packaging for cool attitude. That's a great idea. We're gonna go with the paper box. Okay, but this
Save
is
some costs.
but this is a $2,300 auction only item. Yeah, you're right. Don't even go with the printed paper box. Just go with the plain white OEM box. Nothing on the outside because that ink on the outside costs money. So.
Leslie in chat says that AMD will collaborate with Popeyes. Get popcorn chicken. There you go.
I
I hear
see.
it's the shiznit.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's from Waterboy. Isn't it Waterboy? I think it's Waterboy.
What, Popeye chicken?
Yeah, Popeye's chicken is the shiznit. Someone kept yelling that all the time.
I can't
Was it?
remember.
I'm just trying to like sort of like I just wanted. We're going to take 1 minute to describe chicken levels. KFC, for fast food chicken, I think it's not bad. Like for
Yeah, it's
me,
pretty good.
I got Church's is down here. Like, oh my God, I'm starving. Let me eat my arm instead of Church's chicken. And then you got KFC. And of course, you got local places that are way better. But, you know, there's actually crispy, crunchy. Gas station chicken is the awesomeness. We're going to mention them, hoping you try to get sponsorship from.
Like Flying J?
Well, it's gas station chicken.
Yeah, Flying J chicken.
What?
Wait, Flying J is a gas station.
Yeah, but it's
a
actually
truck stop.
It's actually a brand that they carry in gas
What?
stations.
Really?
Yeah, it's crispy, crunchy chicken.
What?
It's
That-
awesome.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
really good. I know it sounds gross. It's like gas station chicken. No, it's actually really good.
I mean, they should have just done like greasy, chunky chicken.
It's really good. I was in Oregon. I was like, hey, there's a crispy, crunchy like 15 miles away. I'm gone. Drove out the door. Wife was like, hey, you gonna go? I'm already on the road. I'm not.
I
even
wonder if that's
kidding,
West
too.
Coast because I've never heard of this in my life. But now I feel like I have to try it.
Look it up. There may be East Coast too. Just look up gas station chicken. I mean, they're not even known by their own brand. It's just
Look
known
up
by gas station chicken. Way
I've
better.
had gas station chicken. I've had gas station Chinese food. I don't mind gas station food, man.
Brad?
Also, Atomic says Bojangles is where it's at.
Really? That's regional
Yeah,
stuff.
very
Popeyes.
regional.
I'm all about the Popeyes. Whoever said that first is right.
Brad,
Also, the movie was Little Nicky, not Waterboy, according to chat.
Last thing, Brad.
It's hard to keep my Adam Sandler movie straight.
just to offend all the New Englanders, the very best fish and chips and clam chowder I had was in a Shell gas station in New England.
All right.
Doesn't bother me.
Actually,
Okay.
one of my favorite barbecue experiences is at a gas station chain in Austin. Well, I mean, they have them other places, but Rudy's, like, they're always attached to a gas station. That's their thing. And, like, Texas-style barbecue. Oh, yeah.
And it's 12:30 by the time.
Yep. All right.
By the way,
I'm so
I'm mentioning
hungry.
that because we're all
already
hungry.
talking about food.
And that's exactly what happened with the 8 guys. Like, hey, wait, hang on wait, where are we going? KFC.
All right.
Now Intel's like, what? We don't even have this chip. We have to make a chip now with integrated cache because somebody had a typo getting lunch. Well, that does sound pretty good, sir. Yeah, let's do that.
Man.
Let's do the cache, and we won't have the graphics part, but we'll have the L3 cache, the ED RAM.
all right. We need to move on to
I will.
some Razer.
For just one last thing, kind of tying stuff together.
Do
that
it.
same ADA64 changelog that mentioned 9900K KFC also added GPU information for NVIDIA TU107, TU116, GL, and M, which is rumored to be a GPU without ray tracing, the rumored GTX 1660 Ti that we talked about recently. So
How does
that GPU
Ian
number
Cutchers?
has also showed up in that same ADA changelog.
Wow. Dang. All
See,
right.
you know when I get a
Whoops.
little lightheaded too, I just start like, oh, let's just like
You start putting numbers in.
just start putting. And you know what? I'm sure somebody would have leaked the Ryzen 3 launch for July 7th because they were hungry, right? It's just like the Snicker commercial.
Oh man, I'm so hungry.
You start
Can-
just
can we-
like disclosing embargo information,
Can we talk about rumors?
rumors.
And then we got questions.
Ryzen, we just start calling it 3 or Ryzen 3000 series. Ryzen 3,
3rd gen Ryzen.
3rd gen Ryzen, Zen 2. Also, a Navi, supposedly rumored for July 7th launch. There's just a ton of stories saying that that's coming.
No, that means I don't get a vacation.
Well, so here's the thing.
July 4th weekend.
Does it make any sense? Because I saw this and I know that they have said at CES, they said it would be coming mid-year. I sort of assumed very strongly and talked to some people that said, yeah, CES is around that time frame, or not CES, but Computex. But Computex is time for late May, very late May.
Yep.
So it just kind of like July is nowhere near May or nowhere near Computex. So would they really launch it?
Well, Computex is usually like the very, very end of May, or May sometimes filmed to the very beginning of June. And so, July 7th is only really a month after that, which I think is
Yeah.
reasonable. If they're going to make an announcement and fully out it, I mean, that seems like that's reasonable for me. And then you'd see all the computers there from, Dell and HP and Lenovo and stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think back to Threadripper. I think it was like August. They did the Threadripper original.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I don't know. It just feels like they would. You're right. They do the full launch there, but it seems like a month later. It seems like. Well, but the other question I go like, could they really do Navi like after doing this Ryzen 7, Radeon 7?
Yeah, Radeon 7 just was a happy accident, like Bob Ross says, or whatever. I think they didn't intend to sell it to begin with. It's just that they can sell it now because the RTX 2080 costs so much. So I think Navi's still definitely coming. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously it's coming. And July sounds right to me. I was hoping for a little bit earlier in the year, but July, we'll get to see what they have before NVIDIA gets on the 7-nanometer process.
If true. These are all rumors, of course. So you think it's entirely possible? Okay.
And that's for Ryzen and Navi, or is it just?
No,
Navi?
the rumors say Ryzen and Navi and X570, which is this X470, right?
I still am kind of bummed that Ryzen got pushed back so far this time around, because the last two launches were in April, like March, April.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could very well have an advantage over Intel this generation until, Intel gets its next gen parts out the door. And having it pushed back that far is going to close that window for them a bit, I think.
Yeah, that was the other thought too. Is like it feels like they've got a huge advantage if they could really get these 7-nanometer parts out today, and to wait all the way till the July. And then what? If Intel, they're not like get this to put the KFC down and get that out sooner. We need those 10 nanometer parts and get them out sooner. So I don't know. It just if they only have a 3-month window, 4-month window before Intel's parts come out, if they do, but that's not good.
No, but I mean it's not bad. I'm going to be very curious to see it when it does come out.
Yeah, I just kind of wondering because it was such a big show off at CES. It feels like if you do the full reveal in May and then tell people you got to wait another month for it, it seems like that's a pretty long rollout. So
yeah,
I don't know how accurate that is. That could just be,
Well, they said mid-year. They said mid-year for Ryzen at least. Navi doesn't have a timetable.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But then you start, the way launches go. Sometimes they go like, well, we're in July. Maybe we just wait for Gamescom to do it there. You sort of want the big splash kind of events, no?
They got to do it at Computex, because at Computex is where all the PC makers show everything that's going to be there for back to school and holiday season. That's like CES is where all the crazy dream this is vaporware stuff happens. Computex is where they're like, here's what's going to be on the shelves this holiday season.
Yeah.
So I would think if they're going to try to make a splash with Ryzen 3000 series, they would launch at
Adam, we got people worked up?
No, people are excited, but we got a lot of conspiracies.
Oh, I love hearing
around.
Conspiracies.
You know,
good ones.
7 nanometer is maybe why it's 7.7. You know, you know, they did it with Radeon 7, right?
That is a very good one.
He was, he was here to say, hey,
but
Radeon
they've already
7.
used Radeon 7, though.
Well, maybe that's their thing. They're just going to go 7.7, and it's also 7 nanometer.
Yeah, but they've already launched Radeon 7. It feels like they should have saved that for. Oh,
no,
you know what it'll be?
This is the year of the 7s.
No, you know what it'll be? So we launched Radeon VII. We didn't launch Radeon 7. This will actually be Radeon numeral 7, not Roman numeral 7.
Yeah.
So they could do Radeon 7 on July 7th, 7.7. And that won't confuse consumers because they could buy Radeon VII or Radeon 7.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Michelle says the date is it's 7/7/19, which is 7 nanometer, and 7 nanometer plus 12 nanometer, which is 19.
This is like numerology here. This is like
needs more 7s. Yep.
I feel I'm just like flashing back to that podcast where Elon Musk was smoking pot and just like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
there we go.
I wouldn't put it past AMD after that Radeon 7 launch, though. I like that name and all the stupid little jokes it has in it.
I could honestly see Radeon 7. I know that's insane, but
No. I don't think
Radeon
I think
VII is not Radeon 7.
I bet you Navi. There's going to be no Radeon 7 replacement at Computex, I doubt. I bet you it'd be replacing Polaris. So mainstream and lower.
Oh, wait, really? Oh,
yeah, that would be my guess. I don't think they're going to have a Radeon 7 replacement right out the gate.
Oh, so this will be, you think Navi will not be a high-end part?
Not at first.
Huh. Why is that? Just get intuition?
Because they just launched Radeon 7.
Yeah, but they launched them, and also, by the way, Radeon VII because they were 7. It doesn't. I don't know if they've gotten like, oh my god, that'd be like. Could you imagine that? You get the lottery scratch off card. It's like, oh my god, you got a Core i9 9990XE and Radeon 7 and some other impossible to get part. It just.
Yep.
Fair.
Yep. Fun times. Rumors are always fun.
I hope it's wrong because I don't want to work on July 4th.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully they. Yeah, no. That's the worst.
Also, maybe that means that Sony's next console is going to be the PS7.
Really? That's the other.
That was just me. It's not.
I would expect that more out of the Xbox because they just put random ass numbers on those names anyway.
Yeah. They might as well. Can we take some questions?
Yes, we should.
Good. Because we have a Discord channel with questions. Question. Let me back it up to a while ago and see what the first question was. Should I wait? This one's from Foking Fresh. Should I wait to get a high-end GTX laptop, or should I just get an RTX laptop? I want to do some gaming on a 4K TV as well with my roommates for our gaming nights. What do you think?
I'd say you got to get RTX at this point because you're saying high-end. You're not talking about $1,000 1060 laptop.
Yeah.
I have a hard time paying a ton of money for a 1080 laptop. It just feels like you're gonna feel pretty burned unless it's a killer deal. Killer deals always beat everything, but yeah. I'm
agree in general with Gordon. Although this is a time of product cycle where you will sometimes see crazy deals, especially on laptops from the bigger companies like Alienware. So keep an eye out for those. If you can find a real rockin' like a GTX 1080 laptop, then I think at a good deal, I think it's worthwhile. Yeah. I think it was our last episode that we actually talked about that with Elena as well. So if you go back and look at that, there's some general laptop buying advice in there.
Nice. Zep from our Discord channel. It's a long one, so I'm going to try to truncate it a little bit. With the Radeon 7 having so much VRAM, can you guys address how memory is used in games? And then also, is it really a big deal? Because there seems to be two sides of the coin on this.
So yeah, basically, the more VRAM, the better in general. If you run out of VRAM, video RAM is used primarily from textures. There's some other graphic effects that also tap into it, but if you're looking to play at higher resolutions with better textures, that can really start to hit the memory on the card. And if you overshoot the amount of available memory on the card, it'll have to hit your system memory instead, and that leads to nasty stuttering and frame time spikes. At this point, I don't think you need 16 gigabytes in a card, even on a 4K card, 1440p card like that is. 8 gigabytes does all right. There are some edge cases, I guess, where a game will request more than 8 gigabytes if it's available. It's kind of tricky because games will do that. We're like, oh, you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, we're going to claim it all, even though they're only using a percentage of it. So it's kind of tricky to measure and quantify. But in general, yeah, the more VRAM, the better. 16 gigabytes in the Radeon 7 is kind of future-proofing right now. I would consider that kind of like RTX technology in the RTX cards. You know, that's for the future. It's not anything you need right now. And yeah, hopefully that helps.
Is
8
it mostly
gigabytes, I think, is fine for 4K.
But is also, I think, sort of Radeon 7, they did it because of the HBM2 design. They needed 4 stacks, and they can't get the full memory bandwidth with 8 gigs, right?
If you start cutting them. And part of it is because it's totally just data center chips and GPUs that didn't make the cut because they have a few less shader units or whatever. So you're just getting the cast-offs from that. That's the reason it has 16 gigabytes.
Okay.
But, well, one last thing, though. Brad, would you agree? Because back in the old day, the marketing, when for ad and board vendors, they would go, oh, let's take, say, a 1060, and we're going to make a 12 gig version of it. Because the consumer is going to go, oh, I don't want a GTX 1060 with 6 gigs when I get 12 gig version of it. Sort of that cynical marketing. You would say that in those cases, it's just cynical marketing that's been done over the years by the industry.
Yeah, it has. I'd say for 1080p gaming, if you can get 8 gigs of memory, great. 4 gigs at the 1080p resolution should be fine in the majority of cases, although there are some where you might have to dial back the textures from ultra to high. I think for 1440p and 4K gaming, 8K is the sweet spot. That's where you want to be. If you can get more, great.
8 gigs, not 8K. Yeah.
8 gigs, yeah.
On that same question, do we think that NVIDIA will switch to HBM2 memory? This one's from CGFU. Or do you think they'll stick with and try to push more out of DDR6?
They already use it in, the data center machine learning GPUs that they're willing to pay the premium that HBM2 you need to pay to get it. I don't expect to see HBM2 in consumer parts from NVIDIA anytime too soon. I would expect them to continue with GDDR6 and whatnot.
Just doesn't make any sense for cost, yeah.
Yeah, it's real easy to throw the memory chips on the board, whereas HBM2 is completely changes the chip design. You're beholden to the availability of HBM2. Part of the reason that I think AMD wanted to embrace HBM2 is because it has significant power savings, which is good for them because their GPUs are less power efficient than NVIDIA's. So it makes sense for them to switch to HBM2 in their ultra high-end parts, but I think it makes less sense for NVIDIA.
All right, here's a very pointed question from Trolling Thunder. What are our thoughts on the new QLC NAND drives and their usefulness versus lower endurance and performance? Are these the kind of drives that are still good for Steam game drives?
I honestly think they're fine. I've seen, it really comes down to the actual drive maker, the controller, the firmware. A lot of
the cache size.
The cache size. There's a lot of there have been a lot of problems in the past where TLC drives are horrible. I have a couple here that I use for game drives during reviews. It's fast. They're no faster than a hard drive once you burn through the cache that's used. A lot of that has been sort of addressed in the newer designs because they just have more cache built in. But the issue, I think, is you can't just go, oh, this is a 1 terabyte drive that's, $85. It's half the price of this drive that is, that's the same capacity. So I'm going to buy this one. The upshot is there's going to be some really good QLC drives, and there's going to be some horrible ones probably if they're not done right.
We do have some reviews of the first ones up, including the Samsung. I think it's 860 QV. I forget the name. QVO maybe.
Yeah.
And it actually is really good. It's one of our favorite budget SSDs. It does, slow down dramatically once you hit a certain, threshold of how much data you're trying to transfer at once. I think it was like 50 gigabytes or something like that. So it's a sizable amount before you start potentially run into any issues. I have no problems with it. I was considering picking one up for game drive myself, actually.
Yeah, I wish they'd come out in 2 to 4 terabyte at an affordable price, but they're not there yet.
All right, a couple more left on the Discord channel, and then a couple more from the actual chat. Northern Tech Hermit, any ideas? Oh, no, I'm not going to say that one. Of course, no, they're not. A touring card for around $100. No.
Sure. Yeah, I just got them in a truckload.
Eventually, but not with ray tracing.
Just also, once you put down your down payment, I will meet you in the back of the liquor store with that card. Okay. Here's the box. Don't look in it. All right. It weighs. It's got some weight in the box. Okay, just go.
Chef Pachimari, couldn't multi-card RTX be an idea to help with the frame rate performance hit of ray tracing?
Theoretically, multi-GPU would always be great, but it's been going downhill a lot recently, and I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, developers just don't. That's just when you add one more thing to the pile of things developers have to do, it just pretty.
It can be a real headache too, getting the two cards to sync up, and just it's a lot of hassle. I've heard from many people in the industry to support multi-GPU. From devs and hardware people and software engineers, driver engineers. It's a lot of work.
All right, last one from the Discord channel. Like I said, put your question in the Discord channel, and we'll save it up until the next episode hits. That's the great thing about it. Sharp Thunder asks, what do you think of Global Foundries putting themselves up for sale with Samsung and SK Hynix looking interested?
More competition's always better, but... if they already backed out a 7 nanometer in cutting edge process technologies, so
yeah,
I mean that is going to impact it.
It's not good. I mean, it's probably a good thing that AMD got out of that deal because it's the fact that they're getting out of high end process and then now they're putting themselves up for sale is usually not a good thing.
Okay, last serious question from Dax. What are your thoughts on the lawsuit against AMD for the FX? Is it 4-core or really 8-core class action suit?
People just love suing these days. I don't think it. I don't know. It's still going on. I don't consider it necessarily a frivolous lawsuit, but it's not anything I would have sued over.
Yeah, and it's not like they came out with these parts and then they told us, media and consumers, media basically super consumers. They didn't try to hide it. They didn't say. They clearly laid out the architecture that there were shared parts among these cores. So there was nothing hidden. It does sound like a harassment suit, or just basically they're going to get money out of them because it's easier for AMD to settle it rather than to fight it all the way through. And it is a bummer because it's not like, hey, we're going to sell you this quad core with hyper-threading and call it 8 cores. They never did that. Intel never did that. AMD, of course, this is not hyper-threading or, SMT. It was clearly, you got more than 4 cores. You didn't get all of the 4 cores or all the cores. So I do think it's mostly bogus.
And follow-up question, Leslie asks, can people sue NVIDIA over DSLS for having poor upscaling?
They can try.
I guess if you're a lawyer and you're just practicing, you end up in Judge Wapner's court or something like that. Can you imagine Judge Wapner kind of like, oh, explain to me what a pixel is again? In a what?
Explain to me what Judge Wapner is?
I miss that era of television. I miss court shows at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
What, is Judge Judy still on the bench?
Dude,
That's what I want to know.
I'm sure.
So Judge Judy, before Judge Judy, there was Judge Wapner. It was the People's Supreme Court, I think, is back then. So it was a good show. It's a good show. Judge Wapner. Yeah. I bet he wasn't even a judge.
I like that a lot more than watching Good Morning America or whatever.
And folks, let me tell you, judges are surly folks. You never want to mess with them, especially in court, because they are judge, jury, and executioner. In court, you don't mess with them. Don't be chewing gum in there. Oh.
Thor is saying that Judge Judy is the highest paid person on TV, or was. She was. Oh, okay.
Well, I can see that. I mean, we're talking about the highest court of television. So what do you?
And then Brash is asking, Gordon, do you prefer Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown? Wait, is it Joe Brown?
Ooh, yeah, it was Judge Joe Brown.
Yeah, Joe Brown. Yeah.
I think for me, I would say Judge Judy.
I like her abrasiveness.
It was the doily. It was like, just what is that doily on Judge Judy? I never could understand what the point was. I mean, the robe doesn't cover everything.
She'll
up,
eat
right?
into you. She'll eat into you.
Yeah.
All right, and then last question from Madex. This is a question for Brad specifically. What beard oil do you use?
What's it called? I think Honest Amish.
Honest Amish. Yeah. Hey, yes. I started using that recently. Yeah. Nice.
I like it. It smells nice.
Yeah. It's got a good
which makes me smell nice. Yeah. So
is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
It's cheap. You should see the label. It's pretty funny too.
How do they get their delivery trucks across the nation though? I mean, that's a long haul bike.
No, it's not Amish. It's not Amish.
Oh, what?
Amish.
Amish.
It's yeah.
What?
I've only actually started using beard oil this winter for the first time in my life because the New Hampshire winters, New England winters finally just started taking its toll.
I don't even understand what the point. What does beard oil do?
It keeps you from getting beard druff, which can get pretty nasty.
Keeps your skin moisturized. It keeps the hair softer. Because I keep mine shorter, so that one of the problems is that mine gets kind of pokey, prickly. Honest Amish's classic blend oil has over 7 expertly selected premium oils, as well as 7 essential oils that target hair growth, conditioning, beard, and skin health, and are full of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to help nourish your beard and revive any irritation of new growth. Relieve.
It's made a huge difference for me. I looked like a Fallout ghoul the early few months of winter, but now I don't have stuff flaking off my face all the time. Use it. Honest Amish.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay.
Gordon looks so disgusted.
I'm just thinking grooming standards, gentlemen. Grooming standards.
Dude, hey, listen. You go to any person on the street here in San Francisco, I guarantee they have beard oil, or that has a beard. They definitely use beard oil.
There's people definitely on the streets of San Francisco that do not have beard oil. I can tell you that.
And you know what? Leslie says this sounds like an advertisement or a sponsorship. You know what? Man, I should reach out to Honest Amish and try to get them to sponsor the Full Nerd because that would be hilarious. Yes. I would totally do it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got like a corn cob pipe. He just looks like a... Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I'm hoping Intel does the KFC bucket, and then they get people to dress up as Colonel Sanders. To like the whole KFC thing they're doing now, where they just get different actors to play Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think KFC would let go of that. I mean, that'd be a pretty expensive buy on Intel's part.
Oh yeah.
You're like, this chip is $899, so only $299 for the CPU, and another $600 we pay to KFC. Is that PepsiCo? I think, right? Is it PepsiCo?
I have no idea.
They can trade him some drones. They can and we'll do the Super Bowl drone show for free at the Pepsi thing. Okay,
there you go. Perfect.
We cross promotional.
Perfect. All right, let's take us out.
All right, Gordon. Hey, check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Also, leave us a review on iTunes because if you do, Brad and Adam's beards will get oilier. I think. Send questions and comments to thefullnerd at PCWorld.com. Also, check out our Discord channel for questions. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis.
If you have an RTX card, buy Metro. If you don't have an RTX card, still buy Metro. It's awesome.
I bought a 1080 Ti because I listened to Elena. Elena told me to get the 1080 Ti. And Adam Patrick Murray is going to hit the off switch.
Earlier in the chat, I think it was Peter, a friend of the show, Peter, was saying that my tagline is I'm hungry. So I'm going to leave you with I'm hungry, got to go eat some food. And also, I hit the autoplay check mark, so the video is going to autoplay when I hit this button right now.
Mm-hmm.
It did it. See?
I don't.